Lo premere o hai già premuto tu?
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm just giving you a brief overview on worldwide and European migration trends so that you can position the findings and the situation in your own country with respect to the global trends. You can see a pattern. This is where we come from. Europe, I think it's important to understand, Europe has been the prime source of migrants during the whole modern times. Some 70 million Europeans have left the old continent since the discovery of the Americas and discovery of the seaway to India. And this was a way in Europe to deal with population growth, with religious dissent, with cultural dissent, with political dissent, with political unrest. So this has created a very, I would say, different picture. Because when you go to a traditional immigration country, be it the US or Canada, be it Brazil or Chile or Argentina or Australia, there migration is seen as a positive thing because not only because of recent migration, but mainly because almost everybody, except for the native Americans, almost everybody sees himself or herself as the descendant of successful immigrants. Now, the same people who are seen as the successful ancestors to today's Chilean or Argentinian or Canadian or US American population, the same people were seen with a certain sometimes disdain, sometimes even more negative feelings over here, and this was one of the reasons why many of them have left. The immigration to the Americas has started by people like the Mayflower generation. Now, these were radical Protestants, Calvinists from England who were looking for a new home, and they first tried in the Netherlands, and even the Calvinists of the Netherlands at that time, who were very strict in their belief, thought that the Mayflower people were too radical in their religious beliefs, so they could not make it in Calvinist Netherlands, and this is why money was raised in order to buy them, to get them a ship, to ship them overseas. Many people who were fighting in the 48 revolution in Germany, in Hungary, in other parts of Central Europe, winded up in the United States. When you go to the State Assembly of Ohio, you find a plate that some Kossuth, the leader of the Hungarian Revolution of 1848, was been giving a speech there, just to give you an idea. But most of the migrants that were sent over were people who were just seen as unnecessary, as the too many, as the people who had no place in Europe for economic reasons. And this, I think, has created a certain mood of suspicion around migration over here, which is totally unknown in the US or in Canada or in Argentina, just to make this distinction. I think it has to do with the history of migration in the area, basically the transatlantic nodes. The first place that the Europeans have populated was not exactly overseas, but Central Asia. The colonists who made it into what is today the southern parts of Russia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, and Siberia, came from the western parts of Russia, but also from Western Europe. And immigration to Central Asia and Siberia was larger until the 1820s than any overseas migration just for the sheer reason that you could walk there. And before the invention of the steamship, as long as we had to sail overseas for 3 months, and only maybe 30 to 40 people could go onto the same ship, the overseas migration was just a trickle. And we should not forget that even a place as far away as Alaska was first settled eastwards by the Russians. And it was only in 1867 that Russia sold Alaska for $2 million to the United States. Now the big push overseas came only after we had invented railroads who brought people to the seashores, and we had invented steamships who could bring people within 3 weeks or 2 weeks to the other side of the Atlantic. Before then, the population of European origin in North and South America, Australia and New Zealand was pretty small. We have also seen a European settlement migration into the southern part of Africa, mainly today's South Africa, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. Australia started as a colony of criminals. It was a big jail for the UK, and it was easy because you needed no gates. You were just throwing people onto the continent, and you didn't have to have gatekeepers and wardens because there was no way of getting out. So it was a cheap way of getting rid of criminals. And today there are, how you say, patrimony associations in Australia, I mean, the descendants of the first settlers. And so the people who are the descendants of the criminals have a higher prestige within the patrimony associations than those who are the descendants of the first sailors who were bringing the criminals. So there's a kind of a reverse order of the prestige. So this is a pretty